Do you have a great listing presentation, or do you just show up at the appointment and wing it? I want to walk through the process I use with my agents to build a stellar listing presentation. One that'll captivate your audience and make the decision to hire you easier than deciding what's for dinner. My name is Micah Pearson, and I love real estate, and I love helping people achieve their goals in this business. I've been in the real estate industry for nearly 2 decades, and I've ran one of the top real estate teams in Utah since 2007. I add new content to my channel every week, so please subscribe so you get notified when we upload. When I started in real estate, I, like most other agents, had no clue what a listing presentation was. I didn't know what it should include, let alone if it was good or not. The brokerage I was with had a generic presentation that I had access to, but with no training and very little experience, I was out in the world, stumbling forward. Like a lot of agents, my first transaction was selling my own home, and then I worked with a few buyers. So I lucked out and I was able to avoid needing one until I got that dreaded call. I'm just kidding. It was a great call. A friend of mine had referred me to a couple who needed to sell their home. I wish I could tell you I created a kick-ass presentation, listed the home, and sold it, but that's not how it went at all. I dusted off the copy of that generic presentation my broker offered me. I studied a bit, but mostly I went to that appointment with that lovely couple completely unprepared, with my friend who referred me sitting on the couch with a huge smile on her face because she knew I was going to slay this listing appointment. I proceeded to embarrass myself and screw up any chance I had of listing this home. I walked away with my tail between my legs and a pit in my stomach. On a side note, have you ever noticed how long it takes for you to walk to your car after you've embarrassed yourself? That walk lasted forever. I vowed never to feel like that again. That experience taught me that number one, I needed to be prepared. It wasn't as much the visuals of the presentation as it was me knowing the content. Practicing what to say, when to say it, and just being confident. I found a better presentation that I could customize and make my own. It was simple, 11 pages in a 3-ring binder, nothing fancy or special. All of the pages were in color and clean, no wrinkles or stains. It was basic, but it was professional. It only took a handful of appointments with this presentation where I felt like I needed to upgrade to something more captivating, something that would really make me stand out from the other agents. At this point, I had moved to a large national brokerage, so I knew there were probably a lot of agents using the basic version. And I definitely didn't want to find myself in a situation where I had the same presentation as another agent interviewing for the job. I just wanted my material to be unique. I wanted something that made me look like a rock star. It was definitely time to upgrade. First, I wanted something that I knew I could share on my laptop and in paper form. So I built a PowerPoint presentation. It included a little bit about me, my experience, and a little bit about my stats. But mostly, I wanted to focus on what I could do for the client. The majority of the presentation highlighted the marketing that we offered, and then more about the client experience. I love that PowerPoint presentation. I thought it looked fancy. I thought it made me look more technologically advanced. But I'll be honest, the clients looked at the paper version a lot more. I think it was just easier to follow. So then when I started my team, we created a new presentation. It highlighted the team and all the benefits of working with us. It wasn't a huge upgrade, but it was definitely needed. That carried us through a few years of successfully listing homes. And then a few years ago, I decided we needed to completely rebrand the entire team. We updated all of our marketing materials to match that new brand, including our listing presentation. We created different mediums for our presentation. High gloss, heavy handouts, a PDF that could be emailed to them, and an animated MP4 video. You know, just to look modern. This way our agents could choose the presentation that they liked using, and they have multiple ways to deliver it. For instance, if they had to present online to an out-of-state homeowner. Our current presentation includes the following. First, experience. Talks about our team, our awards, our sales, who our agents are, what they specialize in, etc. Each of our agents includes a very detailed biography on the first page. Mine included my professional background inside and outside of real estate, any awards that I'd won as an agent, and anything else that would help give my client a perspective of who I was professionally and personally. I think it's really important that you provide an authentic image of who you are. Second, we did a page that's called Us versus Them. It has columns comparing what we offer versus what other teams do or other individual agents. We list everything we offer to our seller and show our offers side by side so that they can compare right next to each other. Before I had a team, I just listed everything that I did for a seller and compared it to what an average agent does. We as real estate agents already have a reputation with the public for, how do I say it, throwing up a sign in the yard and collecting a big check. I think all of us know there's a lot more to it than that. But unless the homeowner sees it, they might never believe it. I found that the more details you offer your seller right up front, the more they believe in your value, negating that public perception. The more you give them up front, the less they have to research other options. Full disclosure will always work in your favor. Be transparent about everything. It really helps you build trust. This page is always one of the most popular pages in our listing handouts. Sellers like to know the value that they're getting and what they're paying for. Now, the next page, we talk about internet marketing. According to the National Association of Realtors, 97% of home buyers start their search on the internet. So it's really important to show the sellers how you're going to capitalize on that. Our marketing syndicates to over 900 real estate searched websites. We pay for upgraded property ads like on Zillow or our local classifieds. And we also post a lot to social media websites. This is something that an individual agent can do. It's not team specific. Show your sellers that you know what you're doing to market their home. Even if you're not tech savvy, you can find people and companies who will do this for you. A lot of brokerages have internet marketing plans as a value proposition to their agents. Check with your broker to see what marketing options they have for your listings. And make it a part of your listing presentation. Marketing specifics are crucial. And then the next page in our presentation is individual property websites. Like pretty much everybody else in the industry, we gave up on paper flyers years ago and went to individual property websites. We show them exact examples of what our property websites look like. We attach a writer to our sign that has an 800 number and a text code. They use those to have additional information about those properties immediately. Once they call that 800 number or text that text code, that immediately captures their contact information and sends it to us. If they use the text code, it also sends them a link so that they'll have access to that property website. They could be looking at pictures and maps and school districts, anything that a prospective buyer might want to know. And now we have their phone number. We follow up and make sure they got all of their questions answered, and hopefully we can schedule a showing. Then the system will automatically send them a text message every other day for about 10 days, in case they need our contact information for anything, or maybe they have additional questions. This is pretty much an industry standard to include these things on your sign writer. Buyers really like having access to this information without having to talk to anyone. To offset the cost, our preferred lender actually pays for this service, and that way they have access to these leads as well. One of the first things we always notice with a new seller is as soon as we put the sign in the yard, they text the number and try out their new property website. I think it makes it more real for them to know that it's that accessible. There are a lot of different options when it comes to call capture technologies or property websites. And many brokerages have this kind of service available for their agents to use. We use Hotline America for our 800 number, but there are so many to choose from. You'll find a million of them if you just Google real estate call capture technology. There are a lot of different personal property websites. We've used Rela in the past, RELA. They were great, but they all have pros and cons with pricing and functionality. I would recommend reviewing a few to find the perfect one for what you're looking for. Like I mentioned before, our lender helps with the cost of this. It would definitely be worth reaching out to your lender and see if they would help. It'll greatly benefit them as well because they'd have access to the leads. So the next section is tech-driven marketing. In this section, we give all of the details about what our internet marketing department does for their listing. Specifically, custom HD promo videos for social media, open house promos, the list goes on and on. Realty 411 states that visual content is 4,000% more likely to be shared on social media compared to any other type of media. And according to HubSpot, social media posts with video are 48% more likely to be shared. So if you don't like using social media to market your listing, it's time to get over that barrier, because that's where the most successful marketing now resides. Next, we'll go into professional photography. Did you know that according to the NAR, 89% of buyers who use the internet for their home search found the photos to be one of the most important aspects of viewing that listing? And a listing with high quality professional photos sold 35% faster. So definitely do not skip professional photos for your sellers. Even if you've cut your commission, you're doing yourself and your clients a huge disservice if you're going to cut corners in this area. Find a photographer who will work with you on pricing, or maybe they're just getting started and they're willing to bend a little. But don't compromise the listing. There's only one chance to make a good first impression. At this point, we lightly explain how important it is to stage your home for photography, because that buyer's first impression is essential. We always let our sellers know, once a buyer knows that your home fits their basic search criteria, they want to be able to feel what their lifestyle would be like. That's why we never want to skimp in this department. We also provide a separate home staging checklist. This checklist goes room by room so they can start this process immediately after signing the paperwork. Or they can have their home professionally staged if they'd like. Now on to our pre-marketing campaign. In this section, we explain our detailed pre-listing marketing campaign. This is done before it goes live on the market. I made a video earlier about the psychology of a pre-listing marketing campaign if you want to check that one out. Okay, now that we're getting towards the end, we need to talk about pricing the home correctly. Now on this page, we have an illustration explaining the difference of pricing your home above market, at market, or below market, and the percentage of buyers who look in each of these areas. After years of arguing about comparables and what a property should be listed at, we started including this illustration to help break it down. We've really noticed that it's helped calm this discussion during the appointment. This page explains how the seller's list price directly impacts how many buyers see their home. The more you list over market value, the less buyers actually see your listing. The less buyers that see your listing, the harder it is to sell. And it's definitely less likely to see multiple offers, which we know always helps put the seller in control during the negotiations. It's during this section that we pull out our individual comps as well as a detailed CMA. We always include the following comparables: actives, under contracts, and solds within the last 90 days. But to go even further, we include all properties that have sold in their neighborhood in the last 6 months, even if they're not comparable to theirs. We do this because sellers know their neighborhood. They know what the Smiths sold their house for 5 months ago. You want to have that information available so that if it comes up in your conversation, you're prepared. Definitely don't be unprepared in this department. We always highlight pertinent information on each of these pages for faster viewing. And I like to include any notes that wouldn't be available to the public. For instance, if there were price drops along the way or changes in status, maybe it went under contract but it came back onto the market. Sellers love having access to information that's not available to the public. So give them that right up front. It'll help build your relationship and build trust. Now, these individual pages are in addition to your CMA because we're using different data to find them. I'll pull out a list of all of the active homes and I'll say, here are the active homes in your area. These represent your competition. Here are all the homes that are under contract. These represent the most recent sales in your area, although we don't know exactly what they sold for yet. And lastly, here are all the homes that compare to yours that have sold in your area over the last 90 days. These are the comparables that any good real estate agent would provide to their buyer if they were interested in making an offer on your home. This will help justify your asking price as well as their offer price. They're also what an appraiser would use in an appraisal. So based on everything that I've laid out here, what price do you think would make sense to list your home at? I always want to start with this question because I want to make sure I understand where their head's at. They may come right out and say, yeah, let's list it at $400,000. If that's what I was thinking, we just saved a whole lot of negotiation. It also helps them be a little more realistic with their pricing. So that's the presentation. In addition to the presentation, I'm also going to include a packet of information. I like to use nice 2-pocket folders. Branded is ideal, but not necessary, but at least have one of those little inserts for your business cards. A 3-ring binder looks nice too, but we noticed that loose pages were sometimes easier to flip through during conversations. Despite all the different mediums we've used over the years, full gloss, heavy handouts are still the most popular. It's also nice to be able to give them something to make notes on the back of as you're going through all this information. We also found that it engages them more than just flipping through a screen. We'll also email them as a digital backup. I have no doubt there are probably great digital presentations as well. This just seems to work better for us. On the right pocket of the folder, we're going to have high gloss listing handouts, our photography and home staging checklist, and a business card. In the left pocket, we're going to have a full detailed CMA, all the comparables marked up and highlighted with all the important information. I like to put all the information in the order that I'm going to talk about them. For instance, actives first, under contracts underneath, and then solds last. Then I'll follow all of those up with the map. I also like to include their full county records report and a copy of any past listing, whether it's sold or expired, that just gives us general information about the property. It helps if you're reviewing square footage or lot size or any other specs. At the end of the day, a good-looking presentation and great-looking informative handouts will set you apart from the surplus of agents that are competing with you for this listing. They make you look professional, they'll make you feel confident and knowledgeable, and they give your sellers something to look at while you're there and remember you after you leave. It's really hard to provide too much information in a listing presentation. Each seller has different experience, and different parts of your presentation will hit differently for every person. This is why I believe in over-explaining. Make sure they know everything about you, everything about your home selling system, and leave nothing to the imagination. Be one step ahead of any questions your sellers could ask. That is going to win their trust and their business. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. Hopefully this content was helpful.